Welcome to another match preview here on Stones TV and the Maidstone United podcast. You can see we've moved to the boardroom, so Lord Sugar seems fine with us still being here. We're looking ahead to our latest return league home game against the Burke and Hare of National League South. It's Boreham Wood. So before we look ahead to Boreham, we must look back at the Borough, and the Stones bashed the Beavers, Nigel.
Yeah, they did, and it was a really controlled performance, wasn't it, from beginning to end. As George said on his post-match interview, they controlled the game really well. Every player put in a performance. There wasn't anyone that even the substitutes came on and made a difference, which is what you want for this run-in. And we are in that run-in now, and it'll be sort of fans are looking at the other results that are going on in the games and that, and it was just a comfortable win. You know that we've got our them 2 quick goals in the first half. Sort of relaxed everybody, didn't they? And then we just continued on with that good form and our patterns of play, and and the results sort of went for us. They opened up that little bit of a cushion over Western. That's 4 points now. Yeah. So, and then you're looking at, then you can look forward to the next game against as we're going to come on to the Boreham Wood, and you're looking at them getting a red card late on in that game as well to one of their key players, which we'll talk about shortly. And it's just, we've got that week now, haven't we, to prepare as well. We've had that week to sort of prepare for them, and any injuries that players might be carrying, you can sort of rest those and manage those. And it's looking good. And what George has said, we're in that run-in now, and it's just about putting those bodies on the line and doing it, isn't it? And it's and that was evident in that game against Hampton and Richmond. And it was good as well to see Tom Lee get his first goal. And what a goal it was as well. It was a really good goal, wasn't it? And that,
like I said on commentary, exactly the same as it was against Dorking, but he got that touch. So
exactly.
Just that little spark to light it for
exactly him. That. And then it quickly followed by that sort of mad assist from George Fowler, that dirty assist as they've called it. And Aaron Blair was there, and good to get him getting 2 goals as well. After a little bit of a lean spell on that comment.
It'd been a month, hadn't it, from between goals.
But there's been, as we've said in these previous reviews, there's been no less effort. He's such a willing runner, and I think Aaron Lee coming in beside him as well is really sort of like they've made himself like into a potent pair, because Lee can get into those gaps, and if Blair's running off of making that space for him to run into, and then you've got as well Charlie Seaman and all the other sort of like coming forward, and Temmie,
as you do.
And I say George Fowler's had a lot of goal contributions, especially since the turn of the year as well.
He's doing double digits for that now.
So then say Sam Corn's now coming back to fitness as well, and he's getting further up the pitch again, and being that threat that we know he is. So it's all looking good. Building that momentum into what is hopefully sort of like a post-season playoff campaign.
So Nigel's talked about that cushion there that we've established briefly, potentially, who knows. The last week in National League South, our next opponents, Boreham Wood, they hosted Dorking, and not only did the Wood lose 1-0, but they also lost Tom Whedon, as Nigel alluded to, late red card, so he won't be available for this Saturday's game down there at the Gallagher. Eastbourne hosted Farnborough, and they got the biggest win of the weekend in South, 4-0 to the home side. Torquay hosted Bath and ran out 1-0 winners. Truro hosted Salisbury and had the same scoreline, 1-0 to the home side. Worthing went to Welling and lost 2-0, and that result has had big repercussions at both ends of the table. More on Worthing again in a minute. Finally, Weston-super-Mare, they hosted Chesham, and Coulson's opener cancelled out by a Minas equaliser, so that meant that 4-point buffer for the Stones in 7th. The league looked as follows after Saturday's matches. So Weston in 8th on 66, Stones in 7th on 70, Boreham Wood in 6th on 71, then a little gap opening up there as well to Torquay in 5th on 74, Dorking on 74 in 4th, virtue of their superior goal difference from the Gulls. A point further ahead, Eastbourne in 3rd, a point further ahead, Truro in 76 in 2nd, and Worthing top, a point further ahead on 77. There was then one game on Tuesday night. Saw Worthing travel to Hornchurch to play that game in hand that they've had over the masses below for quite some time. But St Angelo Balanta strike just before half-time for Hornchurch meant that Worthing's lead remains at just that solitary point going into Saturday's fixtures. So Nigel, hashtag never dull in South, hashtag tighter than a tightrope made of titanium type of tights.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? You know, you look at that and, you know, it puts into perspective that 0-0 draw we got at Hornchurch just a few weeks back, didn't it? You know, we said at the time it's just getting those points and ticking them over. And the pressure will tell, and it just changes from week to week, doesn't it? It seems like a poison chalice when you get to the top of that league.
Yeah.
You're there to be shot at, and no one's really got that. You know, if they'd have won on Tuesday night, they'd have opened up, what, a 4 or 5 point cushion?
4 point, yeah. It could have been 7, obviously, if they'd have won the weekend game as well at Welling. So
exactly.
Been in their hands for a minute, hasn't it?
Exactly, and you know, no one really wants to run with it, does it? Which makes it interesting for all of us. And there's been a lot of, over this past week, a lot of these on social media, they're putting these templates up of games that teams have got left and they've got to play, and the average position they've got to play. And you know, you look at it and you sort of think, oh, you know, Truro have only got to play Torquay, and so it's
the same with Torquay as well.
Exactly, in their hands. You know what I mean? It's sort of like, but then you've got Worthing and Eastbourne that have got to play each other, and
yeah, Worthing's running's looking very tasty, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, they've still got to play a lot of the teams in and around them, and you know, even just outside that top 10. So yeah, it's going to go. We've said it all season. It's going to go down to the wire. It's going to go down to that last week, isn't it? Even just for the battle for places below, because everybody, you know, you're not going to get the title. You want to get as many home games as you can in those playoffs, or less games in the playoffs if you finish second and third, because you obviously get a bye in that first week. So it's going to be interesting, you know, and
slightly.
And it's going to, you know, probably there'll be more twists and changes over this weekend as well. And then, you know, we're heading into April, and then the Easter weekend, and all these plots, you know, local rivalries, and it's going to be very interesting.
Stay tuned. So the National League Southern Youth Final was won by the Stones at Slough, Billy Jones Academy side. They got Chester in the final next month at St George's Park. They had a couple of Merritt Kent Cup wins for the under-14s and 15s. Nigel, we've said it before, when they reached the final, the regional one, the youth development and the setup at this club bearing fruit all throughout all the age groups.
Oh yeah, massive big up to all the coaches involved in that setup, because you know we just, you can see it from the results there that they, you know, they're performing to the top of their abilities, and you know, it's only good for the future development, isn't it? Because these top level coaches from league clubs and higher are looking at these players, and you know, it's only good, and that you need that whole sort of setup around the club as well. It's not just about the first team, is it? You know, we've seen the development of the women's team this year as well, and to move a club forward, you've got to have all those sort of grassroots level stuff coming through, haven't you? So exactly. You know, it's all good signs going forward. And best of luck to the academy team in defending their title at St George's Park. I believe it's Chester. Did you say that?
Chester next month. Yep. So we'll have more on that as and when it's will happen, frankly, and hopefully with a big win again.
Yep.
And so to the comings and goings at Boreham Wood since last we met them way back in August. Well, probably the most important one, of course, is the change, in inverted commas, of manager back to who they had at the end of last season, Luke Garrard, just a couple of weeks after we met. Also in September, right back Jaden Richardson joined as a free agent. He'd previously been at SPFL side Aberdeen. In November, Johnny Goddard rejoined Slough Town on a permanent basis after game time dried up for him. Cameron Cox joined fellow National League Southside Salisbury on a 3-month loan deal. Attacking midfielder John Benton arrived from Solihull Moors on a permanent basis via his loan spell with us here at the Stones. Then on New Year's Eve, hard-working striker Matt Rush arrived from Sutton United on a permanent basis after a loan spell with us here at the Stones. I feel like I was on repeat there, sorry. So January came and Lee Unlove left for Barnet on a permanent basis for an undisclosed fee. In mid-January, the Wood re-signed defender and former club captain Callum Reynolds from League Two newcomers Bromley. February saw the signing of defender Joseph Yarney, a former Everton and Newcastle youth player who we've come across before at Chesterfield. And so to this month, and the news that central defender Chris Bush will be unavailable for selection for the foreseeable future following a medical emergency. He collapsed at home and was taken to hospital. And it was discovered that Chris has a heart abnormality, likely something he's lived with since birth. And that came just 48 hours after he scored a consolation at Truro on the Tuesday in his last playing act this season, most likely. So everyone here at Maidstone United wishes Chris well with his recovery. So Nigel has plenty of top-class talent signed throughout this season, and some of which we obviously know about from first-hand experience.
Yeah, exactly. It just adds another layer to the game, doesn't it? You know, we've played Boreham Wood many times over the years, as we come on to shortly, but they're no strangers. Luke Garrard particularly has been at the helm for all of that period, and he's no stranger to coming here at the Gallagher, and none of the players are going to be strangers coming here at the Gallagher. They've all sort of played here before, haven't they? And they're used to that atmosphere, so I think it's going to be a sort of like a big game atmosphere. I mean, it kind of goes to the reverse of what we said. Some of these lesser teams that come here for the games we've talked about previously, no disrespect to them, but it can be intimidating to come here. But from Boreham Wood, we know they're not. They get the biggest home attendances. So come into a ground like this, a big game with something on it. They're all going to be up for it. They're all top level players. I mean, like you say, Callum Reynolds was won promotion with Bromley at Wembley. Less than a year ago. So they're no strangers as well. We've had plenty of battles with them over the years, and it's just one of those games that we've all been looking forward to.
Yes.
To when before the fixtures came out, when they got relegated on that last season by Ebbsfleet, it's like, if we stay in this league, we'll be playing Boreham Wood next year. So it's one of those games that whets the appetite, kind of thing. And as I say, it's gone to plan as we've expected. Both teams up there in the playoffs fighting for honours. So it's going to be a tasty affair, I think.
Nom nom. So the key men for the Wood, Nathan Ashmore has played every minute so far this season, 15 clean sheets in 40 games, 4th overall in the Golden Glove race. Charlie O'Connell's in his first season. He has the most appearances in defence so far this season. His only goal this season in a 3-1 win at St Albans last month. Tom Whelan has made the most appearances in midfield. His 3 goals have all been in wins, including the winner against Chelmsford last month, but the aforementioned red card last time out means he'll be missing. Could be a key miss for Boreham Wood. And Kwesi Appiah is the division's leading marksman. He's got 24 goals, and they've provided 29 of their 71 points this season in the league. So very crucial gentleman he is. So Nigel, some important players throughout their spine, but one missing in there perhaps might make the spine wobble. You never know.
You never know, exactly. Looking there, we've talked about the players that we played against. Nathan Ashmore.
That's another one we've come up against.
Hundreds
of times.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he obviously was at Ebbsfleet, which was our rivals for when in their sort of heyday, and I believe he. No, he wasn't in goal for. Was he in goal for the playoff semi-final? Just trying to think now. He would have been. I think he would have been there. But I know we played against him against Gosport as well in his early days in the old Roman Prem days as well. Remember Alex Fisher banging one past him in the last minute of a game down here at the Gallagher. I say it's just them key players, isn't it? No coincidence that they're up there because they've got a lot of players with a lot of experience, and I say it just adds that extra layer to what is already a fascinating game. And obviously with the Benton and the Rush situation with them going over to Boreham Wood, and yes, I forget Boreham. In the reverse fixture, Benton scored that offside goal that was, from even now, looks a perfectly good goal. So, it's just one of these games that you look forward to as football fans, isn't it? And it's that sort of rivalry, that sort of little bit of tension on a game that would not necessarily be sort of like just a run-of-the-mill game, but it just adds that little layer of extra spice to it.
It does. So lots of games played since August. In the FA Cup, the Wood knocked out Eastbourne, Larkhall and Carshalton Athletics before Leyton Orient knocked them out in the first round on penalties. The FA Trophy saw them knock out Felixstowe and Walton United, winning that shootout, knocked out Eastbourne again and then saw off Weymouth before they lost to Aldershot in round 5. In the league, 34 matches played since last we met, 17 apiece home and away. So the home record reads 10 wins, 3 draws, 4 defeats. The away record only 8 wins, 3 draws and 6 defeats. So they have remained inside the playoffs since match day 19, despite spending 13 of the first 18 outside of the playoffs. So it's not how you start, it's how you finish, Nigel.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be, it's going to be very interesting, isn't it? Boreham Wood have notoriously not been they're not a high-scoring team. They've really got much of the style of suffocation in the opposition, haven't they? But we have got the best defence in the league. Touch wood there going into this weekend.
Keep it that way.
And the difference. We had a good defensive record last year as well under George and Craig, but the difference is we are scoring the goals.
Yes.
So we're coming off the back of that 3-0 win at the weekend. Alexis Andre Jr. We talk about Ashmore there being a key man for Boreham Wood, but 20 clean sheets, and George said it in the press this year. He rates him as probably one of the best goalkeepers in the National League South, and with those stats, he's got to be up there in the mix, hasn't he? So again, it's just that different sort of contrast of styles, and it's going to be. I think it's going to be a game down to key moments. Both managers are experienced now. Excuse me, and it could come down to sort of like maybe a yellow card. You're trying to protect a player, or where you make your substitutions, and we've all got Aaron Blair, and you say their top scorer there. They've got gold in them. And they haven't been playing Matt Russ the last couple of games, but what a player to come off the bench, for them if they win a goal in the last minute of a game. And of course we've got Shaq as well. He's been sort of playing that super sub role. So each side can sort of match the other ones for talent, and talent and experience, and it's just going to be a good game against two good teams.
So, the aforementioned head-to-head between these two sides. Lots of memorable games, Nigel, and league-wise, you can make an argument the Stones have the better record in recent years.
Yeah, exactly. That surprises me, really. I was looking at the stats, you sort of get the impression that, or in my head anyway, that Boreham would have kind of had the...
I suppose because you look at the league standings, and generally, historically, the last few years, Boreham have been above us. Yeah,
exactly. But you sort of think that we don't do too well there. But you look at it overall, and back in the Ryman days when we played them, we had quite a good record for them in the league. But then even like recently, they've all been key games, haven't they? You remember that when Yemi scored that goal right at the end of the game to secure our survival in National League South in our first spell there, and then even that first season when we moved in there, I remember Kevin Locko getting a last minute header when we'd gone to their place on Bank Holiday Monday in August, and probably got battered for 90 minutes, but it popped up the winner there to get 3 points. It was Jay Saunders' last game in charge of the Stones here at the Gallagher again on Bank Holiday Monday. That same season we got a 1-0 win down there between Christmas and New Year when Tristan Lewis and Simon Walton were in charge. And then even recently, they were the team that relegated us, the irony of that, from the National League in our first spell, and that 4-0 game there. So, there's always been sort of like critical games between us. And, with that season, the last season with the National League, with that 3-1 game when BT Sports as it was then, didn't we? Or TNT Sports, I don't know what they call themselves now, but it's there's always been something on them. There's always been a little bit of a angst, and as we've said, Luke Goward's no stranger to coming down here. I mean, sometimes you see him down here, even when Boreham Wood are not playing. Last season he was down here for a couple of
Chelmsford, didn't we? For
a couple of midweek games and that. So it's always been a club that's got sort of like that sort of like love-hate sort of relationship, haven't we? It's rivalry's not just about local rivalries, isn't it? Sometimes when you're coming up against these teams so often in the progression, you're sort of going up through the leagues. You come across these teams and players change clubs, and that's all that as I said, that extra spice to it.
So if you can't remember all the players from the previous meeting, we might not head back to our previous preview video and podcast from this season, all the way back in August. There'll be more information on Saturday's opponents in those. The links to the video and podcast are both in the description below. If you can't make it to the game on Saturday, be sure to tune in to Darren and Nigel from 240 on Stones Live. You'll see them on the Hot Take. 2 years of that we've been doing it now. Crikey. And then you'll hear them on the highlights once they go online. Well, the last time the Wood came to the Gallagher, it confirmed the Stones' relegation back to National League South in April 2023. 2 years on, will their latest visit help see the Stones stay in or leave the National League South come April or May of 2025? Here's hoping we have shown you the Maidstone trees from the Boreham Wood today. I thank you. Our thanks to you all out there as ever for watching or listening to the latest preview. Like and subscribe on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. Just search for the Maidstone United podcast. See or hear you for our next preview ahead of the return league away game. Another biggie, it's Western Supermare away. And as always,
come on you Stones!